pretty sure I'm getting dumber when it comes to technology, people. I sat there and stared at the screen for like 3 minutes, like going, why can't I find my live event for today? And I realized it's because I was looking at the wrong tab and I
Yep.
need to refresh. So welcome to this episode. I was thinking about doing something like with the Doors. This is the end, my only friend. And I couldn't find anything clever, so I thought I'd just go for the ominous. This is the end. Every year we do this, and I've decided to start a little bit earlier this year, is where we start talking about like there's not as much time left in the year as you think. People stop pushing things
No.
off
Yep.
because we're sitting here at mid-August. Okay, so you're mid quarter three. So you're like, okay, I got plenty of time. Summer's still in swing. It's warm outside. Kids are just getting to school. Like, I have plenty of time to get all these projects done. Look at your calendar again. Now, December is shot. Well, you might be able to work till like the 10th or so. Then everybody starts getting really bad on vacation time. And you can squeeze in projects here and there, but that time is so unstructured, it just kind of disappears.
Yep.
And then you've got November, another big vacation month, at least here in the States. And, people are kind of smooshing together Christmas and Thanksgiving. You've got holiday parties at workplaces. And then you've got a lot of people are really busy trying to cram in their budgets because I don't have time to meet with you, IT professional. I need to get this budgeting done. I am going to spend all week on this. So that's November. Then you got October. October's actually kind of nice. It's also Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We as techs love October. And now we get back to September. That's in 2 weeks, people. September is when you should be scheduling all this stuff. You should be working on getting your October, November, December planned out. You should be wrapping up your year. You should be putting in your budget for 2025. So that's the rest of your year right there. There's no leeway from now until the end of the year, which is why a lot of people say you need to have your budgeting done by October. And so Skip and I, during this last like quarter and a half, I should say, tend to like just kind of fire these flares up in the air saying, look, you got to get moving. Whatever big project or plan you had for this year better be either almost done or have a concrete plan on how it's going to be finished, or you're not going to make it. It's going to be one more thing you push off into 2025. And imagine having to do one more thing this year. Do yourself a favor, knock something off.
Well, to kind of boil it down into a couple of actually just one real actionable step. So I still know this is a problem. All right. I hear members talk about this all the time. Just getting the meeting scheduled. All right. Sometimes that is the hardest task for some of your customers than anything. And if you take all of those variables into account that Adam just talked about, you're looking from at least a high level meeting. All right. You're looking at having one more meeting with those clients for the rest of the year. If you start right now, and we all know there are clients that it takes 2 weeks to get them on the schedule. That puts them in September at the earliest. And then good luck trying to get them in to a meeting sometime in December. That's just not going to happen. So you can probably just quickly glance at your client list and identify a significant percentage of them that you have one more opportunity to meet with them, to have some real meaningful discussions other than a quick phone call, a quick email exchange. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about actually sitting down and talking about things that are going to matter and drive the relationship and the course of your projects. You have one meeting left. Now, if you're lucky, you've got two with better managed companies, people that can work their schedules a little bit better. But when it boils down to one, what are you going to do? For the rest of the year, what are you going to do if you can only have one meeting?
And I was just complaining about this the other day. When you're in sales or you have any kind, you kind of get frustrated with your clients kicking things down the road. And, we have people who, we meet with like in January, like, oh, I want to get this done next month. And so February comes around. Then March comes around. Oh, wait, I got busy. April comes around. May comes around. Like, okay, when are you planning on getting this done? Oh, third quarter. Third quarter is when I really want to kick this off. And
Yeah.
third quarter comes around, fourth quarter comes, and this is how they live constantly. This is just
Yeah.
that firefighting mode that we all fear in IT. I'm not blaming these people. It's literally that busy. It's you're working hard, but you
Mhm.
have to be deliberate about your time if you want to accomplish things with your time. Otherwise, you're going to look back on 2024 and say, what did I get done this year? What changed from 2023 to 2024?
Yeah.
And you got to think about that. The end is closer than you think. Even in January, we give people a warning. The end is closer than you think. You just kick off your year in January. Now it's time to, did you get things on the calendar? Are you cognizant of the time that is passing, or are you just working day to day, hoping that it'll get better soon?
Yes. Well, and
Hoping is not going to help you.
no. And we're seeing this, it's business, right? So you take the vendor side of things or the customer side, the technology versus non-technology focus, you take that out and it's just businesses. So we talked about this morning at our stand-up, we have someone that we've been talking to and they rescheduled yet again. And we were joking and looking back and like, how many times have they rescheduled this meeting? And I've, talked to them, other members of the team, and they're working on stuff. They've got things, projects that didn't go well, personal things that interfered with their schedules, and we rolled back and like, wow, we've been trying to really get engaged and get things going with this person for almost a year now. I mean, they came in late last year.
I think our record is 2 or 3 years. Somebody
It
kicked it down.
is. It is, and so this is across business altogether. So the only way to do this is to get way ahead of it, to get these things established and set. And admittedly, those first meetings, sometimes if you aren't on this cadence, if you aren't delivering value in these engagements, they are much harder. So when you do get maybe this client that's you got one meeting coming up, don't waste your shot. Don't get off target and get into the weeds. Make sure you're ready to have a very valuable conversation. And when I say valuable, it's got to be valuable to the client. And if you do that, then we see the shift. Then we see people going, oh yeah, we got a regular meeting with our customers. They're happy to show up. They're there every time. We meet with them regularly and consistently. Well, that's because they're delivering valuable content. Or not, actually, they're not delivering valuable content. They're creating valuable content in those meetings.
Yes.
So you've got to get ahead of this.
And that's where you really got to focus on what are you doing for your clients. That's where we try really hard in our coaching program and when we're meeting with people to say, are you talking about the things that your client wants to hear? Or needs to know about? How do they make a better decision with their with the information given to them? And so when you have that meeting, that value driven meeting where you say, hey, look, this is what we're doing, this is what we're going to talk about, and it's efficient with your time as well as theirs. You don't need to go in and spend 6 hours prepping for this meeting and then have a 1 hour meeting that results in no actionable items. Now you want to and say, hey, we need to have a discussion about where we're going as a company or where you're going as a company and how we can help. And if we do this, then we can be a lot more efficient with what we're doing. And then you can work with deliberations because when you go work on an outage with that client, you may realize that, oh, while I'm here, let's get that thing done.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to wait for the next outage window, but now we can do that now. Or while you're there, you can create efficiencies to help the client understand where they need to go. Hey, while I'm doing this, I can move you forward. Then as you're having these firefighting modes, as you're on site with a client, you in your head have this purpose to drive towards. You know that when you fix this, maybe you make a tweak to it so it gets a little closer to the final goal.
Yeah.
Maybe you are able to get them pushed in the right direction just a little bit rather than fixing and walking away. As a VCIO, when I was advising schools, the number one problem I saw the MSPs were having was they were not having conversations with their clients. The number two problem that I don't talk about much is the IT people were not working with purpose. They were doing a great job. They would come in, they would fix a printer, they would walk out. They got the job done. They moved on to the next thing. They fixed a computer and they got done. It
Yeah.
wasn't painting a larger picture. It was just simply break fix. I walk in, yes, it was a break fix contract because no one ever asked the client, what do you need us to do? Where do you need us to go? What are your problems? How can we make this place better for you? Simple, simple, simple questions.
Yeah.
And that's where the end of your year is. You should be having these conversations in October and November of this year. Preferably, you should have had these conversations in like March, April, so that you could be making a plan so that your QBRs and your annual reviews you have in October during Cybersecurity Awareness Month incorporated what you talked about earlier this year. Because then you can say, hey, we talked about this earlier this year. How are you doing on this project? How is attendance in classrooms? How is online testing going? Or whatever it is. And then be deliberate about following up on that and saying, hey, look, it's been 4 months. You really haven't made much headway there. Here are the things I want to do in 2025 that are going to actually move that needle. I know it's going to cost you $10,000, but if you can get it into budget, we can make this thing better for you so you're not struggling with it next year.
Yeah. Well, and I know these meetings coming up, when I mentioned earlier, you have one meeting and some of you are thinking, oh, that's right. And your mind immediately goes to, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to put together? What reports could I bring together? And let me let you off the hook there. You don't have to have a ton of information for these engagements. You should be listening. So you need to show up with a list of questions, right? Not a list of answers, and really change that dynamic. And when you do that, these engagements get much easier to prepare for because you're reviewing past questions. You want to get updated answers on this, and it removes the burden from you to have all this information polished and shiny and ready for some sort of PowerPoint presentation on stage. That's not what your goal here is. So take a little bit of weight off your shoulders here and look at going, all right, I need to put some things together. And if you're just budgeting time, if you got an hour meeting, roughly you need about 20 minutes worth of content that you are presenting, because there are things you're bringing. You're giving updates, you're showing information. But when you narrow that down to, well, I've got 20 minutes, what do I need to talk about? That will also help you really identify, oh, these are the important things. I really just need to give them an update on this and this. And then the rest of it is going to be detailed around, what are we doing next? You're asking questions and getting great information.
Yeah. So with the last part of this year, what you should be doing is being curious. So if you're going in there to preach, if you're going in there with license counts and you're going in there to talk about how many PCs are under warranty, if you're talking about asset management, no. You should be going in there like, yes, I do realize age-old, diagnose before you prescribe. You need to know, the client needs to know how many PCs are going to age out next year. You know what that is? That's a single slide. It's a single part of your report. But if you ever heard the phrase, this meeting could have been an email, that's you guys. Those of you who walk in and talk about asset management, who talk about license management, that can be an email. And maybe we should come up with a module, Skip, where we just put all that into an email. Say, look, things you don't talk about during a QBR. Please review that email and let us know if you have any questions. We're going to true up your licenses, and here is the detailed explanation of the PC breakdown. What I'm going to talk about in the QBR is tell me about what's going on next year and how I can benefit you. By the way, here's our recommendation for our budget. We'll adjust this after I talk to you.
Yep.
Let's discuss what's going on. And then we can do a project review and say, which of these projects are going to help you in your business in 2025?
Yep.
And then you become the advisor.
Yeah. That email is really kind of funny because as soon as you said that, I thought back to several conversations I've had with MSPs, and we talk about their prior QBR processes. And they've said several times, that they had a collection of reports, they put it all together, but their clients weren't really interested in meeting with them. And they realized that they could boil that down to just an email.
Yep.
So their QBRs were emailed out to their clients. Okay, I appreciate the efficiency and the automation there, but they didn't follow it up with engagement. Okay, we sent you all this information, you reviewed it. Now, where's the conversation? Where are you understanding what your client is going to do and move forward? And that is the real value in these engagements.
Yeah. And this is the end of the year where you have every excuse in the world to have a valuable conversation asking your client, where are they going? Everybody's expecting it at this time of year.
Yes.
Any corporation, any mid-sized corporation, this is what they're doing internally. They're expecting you. Like, you can even ask them, like, hey, are you guys gonna have like a year-end review that I could sit in on and just listen and learn about your company? Okay, attend that. Can I take you out for lunch and we'll sit around and talk about what the business is doing, and then we will run a project schedule to say, is this how we are going to move forward, and what technology is going to help you get there? That is what this is for. We're not prescribing, we're listening. This is a diagnosis. This is your yearly checkup. You're going into your doctor and you're explaining to them, like, yeah, I get a little short of breath when I walk upstairs lately. Like, well, your BMI is a little high, which is fine, but are you getting any cardio right now?
Yeah.
And so you might want to look at that. And also, like, I got a little chest pain at the top of my chest. Like every time it kind of radiates down my arm. Like, okay, we need to take you to the hospital. This is your yearly check, where your client is telling you, the diagnostician, about what's going on. So you're like, oh, that's a problem. We probably should address that.
Yeah.
But if you're not listening, if you're just that doctor, like, that's where you get into like the urgent cares, right? Tell me what's going on right now. I will fix what it is. I'll put some glue on it and I'll send you out the door. They're not going to help you long term. Or you can sit down with them and explain to them, where do you want to be? How do you want to grow as a person? How do you want I really would love to drop 30 pounds. Like, well, you should probably talk to a dietitian because it sounds like you're getting a lot of going on. Or, hey, you're on that medication. This is kind of complicated, but it does cause weight gain. So maybe switch medications. The doctor can help you once they know the story. But if the doctor sat there and just fired question after question at you and didn't actually listen to you, they'd be like, okay, you need to cut back on your salt. You need to blah, blah, blah. And they'll just run you down the same thing they're going to tell everybody. You need to get more exercise. You need to cut down on your salts, cut down on your carbs. See you next week, or see you next year.
Yeah. And you as a patient.
Yeah.
Yes. And think about that. You as a patient, how much of that do you actually listen to? When they just fire off canned answers that don't really apply to you and just give you this rundown of things, they tell you, you need to cut down on your salt. You're like, I don't add salt to anything, right? It didn't apply, right? So why would you follow their advice? Because you don't feel that it really pertains to you personally.
Yep.
And your clients are going to be in the same boat. When you just fire off rapid fire, issues and say, hey, here's a standard response to all this, then they're going to look at that and go, yeah, I'm not standard. Right? Nobody thinks they're standard, right? Everybody feels they're unique in some way, and you need to understand what they feel their uniqueness is, so you can meet that particular need.
So listen, as Richard Lapak said there, diagnose before you prescribe. Sit and listen. You do not know your client's business as well as you think you do. Sit and listen. Use this last quarter that's coming up. Schedule the appointment now in August or September, October. Say, hey, look, I'd really love to get something on your schedule for late September, early October to talk through our budgeting cycle. I need to learn from you guys what your guys' priorities are, because they're going to be right in the middle, or if they're even somewhat organized, they'll be right in the middle of planning out their 2025. I'm planning out my 2025 right now. But that's because I was a government. I was a director. I had to get my stuff out early. And so I'm just in the habit of every August, September, I am neck deep in finance, trying to figure out how is 2025 going to work, planning out how much budget do I want to put on conferences, where am I gonna push for growth, what am I expecting for growth, where are we going, how much to push into dev. Like, I'm thinking about this, and if people come up to me as vendors and say, "Hey, I've got a really good solution for you for that problem you were having," like, "Oh, cool. Let me incorporate that into my 2025 strategy." Your clients are doing this right now, and you're not part of the conversation because you're too busy putting out fires.
Yep.
These are hundreds of thousands of dollars you are missing in revenue because you're not walking in and saying, "Hey, let's have a conversation about what your business is doing and how I can help you." Don't come up with a prescription already. Don't go
Yep.
down a checklist of all the things you're going to tell them. Go in with an open mind about what are they doing and
Yeah.
how can I help you? And that's a QBR. There's a lot of vendors out there who will say, "Hey, we'll line up your entire QBR for you. We'll tell you exactly what to say. Here's all the licenses. Here's all the warranties. Here's all the information. Just tell them all this stuff, and they're going to think you're $1,000,000." That is wrong. You're
Mhm.
going to spin your wheels telling them things that they don't care about. And you're going to lose that contract because you're just like everybody else. And so you're
Mhm.
going to end up with a low bid situation where you're constantly losing customers to lower bids because there's no unique value prop there. But if you walk
Yes.
in and say, "I care about you. I want to learn about your business. What are your biggest sources of revenue? What are your biggest sources of risk? And let's walk down that path. And I'm going to come back to you with a series of technologies that are going to help." Or maybe in the room, you'll think of something like, "Oh, why don't we just use thin clients,
Yeah.
Chromebooks? Why don't we get fiber to the
Something.
curb at your spot?" Any of those things. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like, let me write up a project plan for you on that if that's really interesting. And then
And
they're happy.
yeah, and you've hit on something that really is the single differentiator between you and anybody else. There's a lot of companies out there that can deliver great technical service, and there's companies that can offer great pricing. There's always somebody out there that will sell it cheaper. And so, how are you going to build and grow your business? Is it on better technical service? I mean, sometimes you just can't get any. You have great teams. Sometimes there's really little room to grow there. And battling on pricing is a losing battle. I mean, that hurts you sometimes just as much as it helps you. So growing your business on these value of relationship and understanding your client's business is something that you can do uniquely. It is difficult for your competitors to unseat you from that client, and it's a great way for you to show
Yep.
tremendous value to your clients, and they're willing to pay. It's a value that they can appreciate, and they're much more willing to pay for because they realize the impact you're having on their business.
Yep. You are human and you are an individually unique person. Your business is individually unique as well. But if you sell yourself as a stack, you're going to be just like every other break fix shop out there. If you want to provide value, then you need to have a unique value prop. And you need to bring that to the table with your client and help them. And you do that by listening, and you do that by taking advantage of these last 4 months of the year or 3 months of the year and being deliberate about them. Sorry,
Yeah.
4 months. Yeah. September, October, November, December. That's all you got. And you can pretty much scratch December off of being useful because by
Yep.
December comes around, almost all decisions have been made. You want these next 3 months to be a curiosity, an information gathering time. So your client can say, "Man, I really like working with Susan. I really like working with them, and they get who we are and they have helped us move forward." I have
Yep.
clients I have from 15 years ago who will still call me up for advice because they know that I get them and I care. And
Yep.
that's that human element you need to bring back into the equation. Stop with the automation of all of your all your content. Stop automating your human reactions. Get in the door and seriously talk to them at least once a year. A
Yeah.
one-on-one conversation of,
At
"How can
least.
I help you?" It's 1 hour and it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's nothing else you do that is more valuable than doing some kind of business review with your client once a year.
There you go.
Again, we're coming down to the end of it. Think about how many
That's it.
clients you have that are in your class A range, your large clients. that you just haven't sat down and done a discovery session with in the years. You're just accepting that paycheck. That's a at-risk client right now. They are at risk. Somebody's going to swoop in there.
That's it.
All right. Enough of the fear mongering. This has been great. Tomorrow, everyone, our new beta is releasing. So if you want to get in on that and you're not an active customer, you have to sign up by probably 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, Central Time, if you want in on that beta. And we will be doing automated project management, automatic project discovery. It's really cool, but getting in on the beta allows you to have some say in how we design that tool. Our dev team has already warned us it's very buggy in beta, so I almost want to call it alpha.
There we go.
Richard Lapek, if you're still on here, I don't remember if you've been in any betas before, but this is one of our first betas where we've gone like to the members before we release. Usually it's we get a great idea, we just publish it and then let people test it out in the prod environment. This time it's such a big release that we're going to get people in the beta, testing it out, working with it and giving us active feedback. Like, hey, can we make it work this way a little bit better? Can we tweak to this? I already have people asking us, can we access the API from it? So it's been an interesting time. So get in on the beta. If you're on the edge about signing up for Humanize IT, sign up today to get in on the beta for automatic assessments. It's going to be a really cool feature. Thank you, Skip. This is the last quarter coming up. So let's have everybody have a great one. Empower yourself, empower your clients, and let's have a great 2025. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thanks.